Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, greetings to all. I, Akash Raj Chauhan, Associate Editor at The Law Culture, along with my co-host, Mr. Shantanu Anand, we are glad to present before you a series of interactive session, what we call it as Off the Desk. And today we have between us a very eminent personality, Shri Atul Yadav ji, who is a judge at Uttar Pradesh Judicial Services. Sir, we are very much elated and honored to have you right here and on this platform. And I would like to personally thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule and being with us. We have this opportunity of interacting with.
Sir, most welcome and
Sir, can you please repeat? I think you were not audible.
I was just welcoming that you guys are most welcome since you guys belong to the same alma mater. It's always a privilege to be connected to guys like you and feel younger.
Welcome, sir.
Indeed, sir. Indeed, sir. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. So before starting with the session, I would like to give just a brief intro about our esteemed guest. Shri Atul Yadav ji has completed his BA LLB honor from Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University, and in 2014 he then went on to pursue litigation as a career. And in 2018 he has given his first attempt in PCSJ, and we congratulate him on his success that in the first attempt itself he has cracked this elite examination, because today we all know the UP PCSJ is one of the toughest examination in the country, and it is recognized as one of the toughest examination in the world too. So sir, आज हम इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे आपका स्वागत करते हैं और हम ये समझते हैं कि हमारे व्यूअर्स को काफी कुछ जानने को मिलेगा, क्योंकि जिसे हम कहते हैं एक हैंड्स ऑन रिव्यू हमें आपसे मिलेगा कि लिटिगेशन क्या होती है, लिटिगेशन में कैसे जाएं और जुडिशरी क्या होती है. तो आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क माय co-host if we can take over.
Yes, Akash, thank you. Sir, so the first question is, so sir, please enlighten us as to how you decided to crack judiciary and what was your motivation? And should we begin our studies from the college itself, and also do tell us about the importance of coaching institutes, or should we keep second options as well if we fail to clear the judiciary?
See, first of all, thank you both for inviting me, and such endeavors will always be welcome. और बहुत हार्दिक प्रसन्नता की बात है कि आप लोग जिस तरीके का एक प्लेटफॉर्म, the kind of platform you guys have created amidst the time of COVID, तो ये अपने आप में this is a very big achievement, and I congratulate the entire team of the Law Culture for doing this, because I am continuously following you people on Facebook as well. तो वहाँ पे भी मैं continuous आप लोगों के developments देख रहा हूँ. You guys are continuously holding interactive sessions. So what that does is that definitely gives an overview and idea to many of the students, as well as it is giving you a practical exposure, as you perhaps are in 4th year and he is perhaps in the 3rd year. तो आप लोग समय के हिसाब से being connected to people who are in the field which you are about to enter will obviously enhance a persona out of you. तो बहुत खुशी की बात है कि आप लोग बहुत सजग हैं, बहुत जागरूक हैं, और बहुत समय से आप लोगों ने अपने इस लॉ कल्चर का जो आप लोगों ने वेंचर स्टार्ट किया है. इट इज वेरी ग्रेट टू सी कि somebody from my alma mater, from my college, I can call you guys as my juniors, तो आप लोग ऐसा कुछ कर रहे हैं तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा, बहुत प्रसन्नता की बात है. And see, when it comes to the question you have asked, it's not a, I won't say it is a single question. उसमें 2-3 आपने चीजें पूछी. पहला पार्ट है उसका कि आप कह रहे हो कि पहला आपका ये है कि how I decided to crack judiciary and what was my motivation. This is one part. Another is that it should whether we should begin it from the college itself, or now the third one is with the importance of the coaching institutes or whatever. So let's go step by step. first of all, I'll come to the motivation part or the manner in which I decided. See, primarily when I graduated in 2014, I was more career oriented, or you can say more my approach was towards the litigation. I was very happy to practice for around a good 4 5 years around. Uh, and in the mid of that, somewhere I realized that in the subordinate course where I am today, I realized in between that actually the people from जिस तरीके के हिंदुस्तान की समाज में सोसाइटी में लोग हैं, सही मायने में अपनी समस्याओं के लिए छोटी या बड़ी जैसी भी है, वो ज्यादातर लोग 90% of the people will go to the lower judiciary. And the kind of system the country has developed and the pendency which everyone is aware of, which Honorable Supreme Court and the Honorable High Court both have been time and again saying कि उस pendency को खत्म करना है या करना चाहिए या उसके लिए efforts करने चाहिए. So I found that if people like us, I'll also take you people into it.
Youth, sir.
Correct. If young people who have studied well or who have a better knowledge and who can understand the law. See, there are two things. One is the theory, another is the practical. So there is a vast difference between the theory and the practical. When you are studying law, it is a different thing. When you are arguing law, it is a different thing. And when you are holding a dais as a judge, it is entirely a different thing. There are many things which you can and which you cannot, and now the difference between what you can and what you cannot relies much more into this, that many a times people do not dare doing so only because they have been told so practically. There is no reason as such. इन सब वजहों से पेंडेंसी बहुत ज्यादा कई बार रहती है. तो I realized in my short 4 5 years of career that unless people come up for services, I'll use the term services for judiciary. If you say career is litigation, judiciary is a service. तो आप जब किसी सेवा में हैं, तो जब तक जो है अच्छे लोग या अच्छे मैं कहता हूँ कि नए पीढ़ी के लोग अच्छे से जिन्होंने अपनी पढ़ाई की है, लॉ को परस्यू किया है, if they do not come up and join the subordinate courts, I don't think that it would be possible to change the system. So for bringing some changes, maybe not, they won't be rapid, maybe they won't be very quick, but still, if we see good people, well-educated people, well-trained people, if they come into the system who can choose between the cans and the cannots, can decide in a better manner. So that was probably the motivation which you are asking about. That is how I decided. That is how I decided that yes, judiciary is something which I should get into, and thereafter 2018 I appeared into it, somehow qualified it, and that is how I'm going ahead. So now we come to the next part. Also, the next part of the question revolves around this, that whether you should begin your studies from the college still or not. So see, judicial services अभी तक प्रदेश के हिसाब से होती है. हर प्रदेश अपनी अपनी न्यायिक सेवाओं के लिए सबऑर्डिनेट कोर्ट्स के लिए PCSJ के नाम से एक एग्जाम करवाता है. यूपी कंडक्ट्स इट इन अ डिफरेंट मैनर, दिल्ली कंडक्ट्स इट इन अ डिफरेंट मैनर, उत्तराखंड हैज अ डिफरेंट पैटर्न, हरियाणा में हैव अ डिफरेंट पैटर्न, पंजाब में हैव अ डिफरेंट पैटर्न. सो द थिंग इज कि इट वुड ऑलवेज मैटर कि कहाँ का जो है किसको कहाँ पे अटेम्प्ट करना है. दैट वुड आल्सो मैटर. आल्सो भाई आप जितना जल्दी आप डिसाइड कर लेंगे कि आपको क्या करना है, आपको किस तरफ जाना है, it will always be more helpful. Studies never bring any loss to you. वो पढ़ाई आपका ज्ञान आपको कभी भी नुकसान नहीं पहुंचाता है, भले ही आप कोई प्रेरक कथाएं भी पढ़ रहे हो. They also give you a teaching in life. So I will always say कि it will always be advisable if somebody is starting in the college itself with respect to the preparation. I don't say that you should get entirely into सिर्फ जुडिशरी की ही तैयारी करनी है. हाँ, but it should be like this, that you must be well aware about, well versed with laws. काम भर का जितना जरूरी है उतना कम से कम लॉ आना जरूरी है टाइम पर, कि आपने उतना पढ़ लिया है तो दैट विल हेल्प, that will definitely help you in judicial services as well, in qualifying the judicial services. Now the third part of the question, which revolves around whether any coaching institutes, so yes, I would definitely say it always gives you an idea, because primarily coaching institutes are being run by the people either who have the experience of appearing in the exam, or they are continuously teaching and seeing that how the pattern of the exam is changing, or some shift is coming or it is not. तो इन सब चीजों के लिए कोचिंग कैन डेफिनेटली गिव यू गाइडलाइन, however you cannot depend on the same. The whole mantra for qualifying any exam is at the end of the day hard work, कि आप जो है जितना hard work कर रहे होंगे उसी हिसाब से you can get into it. For me, like it was like this, कि even while I was appearing in the examination, prior giving my mains, I had to appear in many cases which were prior my interview, I appeared in a matter before the Honorable High Court, and somehow the matter was decided in our favor for the parties which I was appearing for. They got the relief which they were intending. So my case was altogether, I will say, different, because I was not into it that I was every day preparing, or I was into this. The general trend of the practices which I've seen most of my batchmates or most of the people generally do is they get into this by either people go to some people go to Delhi. There are a few coaching institutes in Delhi who give you a very good idea about the with respect to the examinations. So generally people prefer going there, and majority of them are get successful as well in case they are doing fair justice to what they are doing. So that is how I answer this.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to our second question, sir, I would like to ask you more about your journey in litigation, because as we know, just after completing your graduation, you went on to pursue litigation, and I mean, you were a very well-established lawyer. So we want to know some hands-on experience from your side as to what challenges people face, and specifically the first generation lawyers who are new to this litigation, and what would you recommend about the same? Also, sir, I would like to have an add-on to this question. If you could please mention any significant case that you fought, or anything during your litigation that you would like to share with our viewers.
Okay. So again, see, the part of this question, first of all, goes around this, that how in litigation when you start off, how you start from a scratch. So I would say that it is actually very tough. It is actually very tough to start as a first generation lawyer. See, the thing is, even if you know the art, it is an art. Litigation is just an art, very much like I would say a doctor is, a lawyer also has to be perfect with respect to what has to be done and in what manner. Somebody might be having a very good academic knowledge of law, but it is not necessary that he will be a good lawyer. For being a good lawyer, you always have to know as to how the court will respond. It is more of a, say, more of a practical thing. For an example, suppose there is a court in Supreme Court. If you know the court as to how it would respond, and accordingly if you can shape up your arguments and decide and go ahead, then it is perhaps in a better manner. So that is why when I said that litigation, and that to first generation litigation, is really tough. It is tough because पहले तो केस मिलना अपने आप में, मतलब जैसे if you guys are asking about litigation, I'm not taking it into the subordinate courts. I'm primarily on the High Court and the Supreme Court because it is a bit different. High Court और Supreme Court की वकालत is altogether different from the lower courts. High Court और Supreme Court में क्या है कि the people who come in directly to the High Courts come through either Article 226 or Article 32. So whenever they are appearing before a High Court in Article 226, they know that if the case is not decided in their favor, they do not have a remedy left. the appeal would lie to the Supreme Court, and I don't think that in our country only I think 3-4% people can afford going to Supreme Court. Otherwise, generally it is not possible and not practically advisable as well to go to Supreme Court for every matter. So will people will always go behind somebody who has a bit more white hairs. Even if you are young, you are dynamic, you are courageous, then also to have that faith of your client, that is most important. So the trust building, it starts off in a, say, in a very slow manner. Once it starts getting developed, then it grows gradually. There is no doubt about that. So for an example, in my first year, I would have had, perhaps I was very fortunate that I had around 4-5 cases at the High Court, as well as the state commissions, as well as a few other forums. So I was into 4-5 cases in my first year itself. But many lawyers have seen that even in spite of having a 3-year, 4-year practice, they would have hardly done any independent matters. What they generally do is that they would go behind their senior, which again is a very vital thing. Because when you are getting an opportunity to brief some senior lawyer, the senior lawyer's preparation is entirely dependent upon what you are preparing, and that how he is going to appear before the court and how he is going to address the court. All those things depend on how the brief is being prepared and how you have told him about the case as well. So it is very vital. But I would say that litigation for somebody who is in first generation, there are 2-3 things which are very important. One, you have to be fair enough social. You should know people who can depend on you, who can show faith on you, who have the courage to show faith on you. Another is, apart from that, you should, if you are thinking about litigation, give 1 or 2 years of your litigation only about learning as to how it is done. You should not be very adamant upon getting the cases or getting the matters or earning money. Making money in practicing law is not a difficult task, but it keeps on coming to you on its own. But it is a slow process. It takes a couple of years to develop, and once it develops, the sky is the limit. So litigation as a career, I would say, is a very good option, but only if you have that courage to take. Because एक और मतलब of kind of this कि वकालत के साथ क्या है कि you never know how much you are going to rise and how much you may fall. There are both the things. So there is no certainty. There is no certainty, but still sky is the limit. When I say sky is the limit, that ends the conversation in itself. Because I know lawyers practicing before the Lucknow High Court who would be earning in crores of money in a month. Acha, also Akash, you had asked about one more thing about one of my cases. So I would say 2 of them. One was with respect to I had challenged the Lucknow University's institutional reservation policy, which was going on since around 20 years when I had challenged it. The Lucknow University had a 80% reservation, in-house reservation for the post-graduation programs. So I had applied in the masters, and I was not getting the admission because there were 30 seats, out of which 24 were being reserved. So this policy was being challenged many a times before the court. However, the court was not inclined to interfere, as it was a discretion of the university. However, on the lines of AIMS versus Students Union of India, the Supreme Court had given a clear-cut judgment. Relying upon that, I was glad to get a judgment in my favor in which the policy was being quashed. It was a celebrated judgment and it was a reported judgment. Post that, there was a service matter. There was a service matter with respect to Department Pradesh Cooperative Dairy Federation, and in which there were around thousands of employees who are being say delayed their 19 years and 24 years of service. There are certain benefits post doing that 19 years of service and 24 years of service. So they were being denied that. However, I got a judgment in that favor as well, in that matter as well. So these were the 2 judgments I would say ki will always remain close to my heart.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, so much. I think you were very fortunate in the litigation arena to taste the success in a very small amount of time. Shantanu sir, if you could please
Yes, yes, sure.
the next question.
So,
Or-
sir, now moving on to the next question. So, sir, is developing a book reading habit beneficial in the long run? And also, sir, is pursuing further studies, say like LLM, NET, JRF, and PhD, beneficial is anyhow in the long run, considering the judicial services?
The first part of the question relies in as to with respect to the habit of reading books. See, I was not into it too much, but how I would advise it is that yes, you should develop because it is very tough, even as a lawyer or as a judicial officer. Both ways, you will have to read lots of things. There are files worth containing 400 pages, 500 pages, which you have to go through in a very short span of time. Many a times you will not get more than a day's time to prepare the repetition, to prepare the matter. So if you are having a reading habit, it is actually very good in the longer run. Whether you are going to practice or you are going for competitive exams or whatever, even if you are going into getting into academics, then also. And the other part of the question, which was with respect to the masters pursuing LLM or qualifying NET, JRF, or doing
NET,
PhD.
JRF, and all.
Correct. So on that, my take would be ki, yes, you should definitely get going with it. The whole sole reason is there are two, three reasons which I'll tell you very frankly. One is that the government has had a policy earlier. It is in ambiguity right now that if somebody is in the same service and he has done his masters, then he'll get 3 additional increments. So basically, if you are doing some services, whether executive or judicial or whatever, so if you are done with your masters, if you have completed your program, post-graduation program, it will definitely help you in that. Also, with respect to having masters or JRF or PhD, is also very vital these days with respect to litigation, because once you start with litigation, the kind of platform you guys are having and the kind of audience which is going to view this program, majority of them would prefer, if they prefer practice, the majority of them would prefer practicing either at high courts or supreme courts. So when you start with the practice, the first thing which gives you a charm is the gown of a senior advocate, which is much of like a gown of a judge. So that
Yes,
is
sir.
which,
Yes, sir.
which is vested in you only post you attain some age, or you have attained some records or something, or you have made some name in the field. So for that as well, for getting the designation as well, these days it is very advisable that if you are done with your masters or PhD and you have certain judgments in your name, in your favor, certain reported judgments, so these are the things which are being considered these days for designating you as a senior as well. So anyhow, it is extremely advisable that in any of these, if you are not preferring to go into the corporate services, unless, then you should get going with your masters as well as net PhD, whatever you can, because post a time you might think of doing it, but you won't be having the time to do it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, uh, now I would like to ask you that what would you say to the first generation lawyer who are aspiring to become, who are aspiring to be an advocate? Because we have seen that it is really difficult for first generation lawyer to establish themselves, and there have also been incidents that they starts to lose hope. They see no light of success. I know you have partially answered this question before, but is there anything you would like to add? I mean, how do they establish themselves in this field of litigation?
See, if the question pertains with respect to establishing in the field of litigation, there are two, three things. One is, as soon as you start with your litigation, you should be clear about this, that once you are doing it, you should be clear about it that you do not have to think about money for initial 2 3 years. Whatever is coming as a bounty. whatever is, if you treat it like that, one thing, this is something which I would advise, because primarily the question here, the question is that people start losing hope. So this is what is the actual, everyone, whatever services everyone is doing, there is a financial involvement. Nobody can serve anything for free. None of the executive officers serve for free. None of the judicial officers serve for free. So a lawyer also definitely needs some money, just in order to keep things intact, to keep his daily life moving. So if you want to get into it, you cannot think in the initial 2 3 years, or 2 3 years, say around, say in fact 4 5 years, that you should not start comparing yourself. Because once you start rising, then you will obviously rise much more, way more higher than a lot of the people in the service sector or in other sectors would be doing.
Indeed, sir.
So what primary focus should be is that which chamber you are joining as a junior lawyer. Because generally, if we talk about the state we are residing in, in this state, see, the biggest difficulty is, being frank, majority of the chambers, they are like, if they are keeping you as a junior, they are imparting some education into you, they are installing some knowledge into you, so they won't pay you, or rather they won't pay you enough to survive. So
Indeed.
that is one thing very vital. Choosing a chamber is always very important if you start into litigation and if you are a first generation lawyer. As to if there are certain vital aspects like what is the quantity of work which is available with the chamber, how much entrustment the senior lawyer shows towards his juniors. Because there are many senior lawyers I know who won't give you anything to work, because they just do not like depending upon others. They are just like too much into this that they want to do everything on their own. So if you get stuck with such a chamber, you can revolve around somebody senior, somebody knowledgeable, and learn definitely, but still that is not going to help you practically. So it should be like this, that you should get a chamber where you may be given with some work, where you can get some work of research, where you can get some work of, say, post research. Once you are into, done fine with making briefs, then if a chamber which gives you an opportunity to argue on some small matters, if you are done with your, say, research on all these things prior, beforehand joining the chamber, then it will obviously give you a better result. Because once you join, then after a year you decide that I'm not satisfied over here, so that whole year is perhaps gone. And once you leave the chamber and join someone else's chamber, so what that does is that lawyer also, uh, will be like this, he won't be liking it very much.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, so we can decipher that the two success mantra, or we can say that the two things which can make sure first generation lawyer that he or she can establish himself, is that they should not go for monetary benefits in the initial phases, and second, that they should choose their chamber wisely.
Yes.
Okay.
These are the two things, apart from obviously which you would be knowing, a lot of hard work.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. Now, Shantanu, sir, if you could.
So, sir, yes, sir. So, sir, now my next question is, sir, how you chalked out the strategies while you were dealing with the local laws and your notes making procedure and your personal suggestions for the budding law students who really aspire to become a judicial magistrate of first class like you, and your personal suggestions and your opinions and your insights about that.
See, I'll wrap up the question you started with respect to the local laws. So first of all, the local laws is asked only in one paper, that is law paper 3. Okay. Apart from that, local laws is nowhere. तो उस पर बहुत ज़्यादा सोचने का, because if I tell you that way, that paper also contains many other aspects as well. Primarily your prelims, mains maybe there are 5 papers of 200 marks each. So it's a 1000 mark exam. So local laws definitely is an important aspect, but it is not the most important aspect because one,
Most
it
important.
does not come in your prelims, comes in a limited quantum in the law paper 3 in the mains examination. So that also consists of maybe around say 70-80 marks. So for 1,000 marks exam, all you need to qualify is to cross the 600 mark. As far as the, I mean 60% of marks is fair enough for getting into all these answer writing exams where you have to write your answers in an exhaustive manner. Okay. So I won't say that you should not study local law. You should definitely, but it's not a very big or a very tremendous task. Rather, you should be more focused on constitution, one hand, because it comes to the most. If whatever you are doing, whether you are practicing or you are doing, say this appearing in any exam, Constitution of India is the most important because in some phases, in some exams, in the general knowledge paper, it will come in the polity. Again, in the law paper, it will always be there. So that is the most important aspect. Apart from that, CRPC, CPC, in a say in a sync with CRPC with evidence and IPC, and the CPC in a sync with Transfer of Property Act, Indian Contracts Act. All these papers you should be more focused on if you are like this into getting into judicial services for sure. This is how I
Okay,
would
sir.
suggest.
Sir, can you also please tell us more about the breakup of the paper and its structure and the procedural law and how the mains paper is mainly focused upon, we can say that the majority of the questions which come are from which part of the syllabus and all these things.
See, there are 5 papers in all when the mains examination is considered. Law papers. So the first paper is a general knowledge, and another is English. So the English paper would contain a few bit of it, say English to Hindi translation, Hindi to English translation, resi writing. General knowledge, as you know, would be containing about 50 marks of polity, and thereafter the rest of the paper is paper revolves around the current scenarios, the history, geography, and the current scenarios. Thereafter, the law starts. Law paper 1 revolves around the constitution and the contract, and they say all these papers. Then comes the law paper 2. Law paper 2 generally revolves around the procedure. And thereafter, the third paper revolves around the local laws and the IPC and a bit of all this. That is how the papers are being shaped. So how I would suggest is कि you should have a more control and more concentration over the constitution, over the CRPC, CPC in a set. I think you should form a set. The Constitution of India should be one set. Another set should be with respect to the Indian Contracts Act, the Transfer of Property Act, and the CPC, because they run in a sync. If you understand it practically, they always run in a sync. कोर्ट में उसको जो अप्लाई करना है किसी भी जुडिशियल ऑफिसर को या वकील को, हमेशा उसको सिविल प्रोसीजर कोड का काम हमेशा उसको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट या प्रॉपर्टी के सिंक में ही समझना है. तो सिंक में once it is done, then you not only mug up law, you will understand the law as to how it has to be done. So it will be more in your mind forever. It won't go out easily.
Okay, sir.
And if you mug it up, what happens is कि once you're done with the paper, you will forget it.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
So that is how I.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, I believe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Sir, you have answered all the questions in a very interactive manner. I would like to thank you for taking out your time from your busy schedule, and I strongly believe that your diverse experience and knowledge will enlighten the young minds of our country and will ultimately strengthen their perspective about the same. So, sir, I believe that we have almost covered every aspect of the judiciary and litigation, and it was indeed our honor and pleasure to learn from you. I mean, since you are like a senior to us, RML is your alma mater, so I think that made us our session more interactive. So, sir, I would just like to conclude this session now. And thank you so much for taking out time to be with us. And it was indeed our honor and pleasure to have you right before us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, both
Thank you
of
so
you.
much,
All
sir,
the best for
for
your
your
future, and perhaps this
insightful
lecture is of
views.
some utility to you guys as well as the people who will watch it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.